I don't think it's desperation, Kelly. I just think it's strategy. Life is what happened to you while you're busy making other plans. And so this kind of opened their eyes and said, we need to do something strategically. And I think they needed to get the mass or their presence in the marketplace up. And this is the best way to do it.
The reason I ask is because the Wall Street Journal has a best and worst airline survey, and JetBlue had fallen precipitously in those rankings over the last couple of years. What's happened to that brand?
I think you've seen a shuffle at the top of the CEO, so it's always management that really is responsible. But it's discipline, Kelly. They came out with a really good airline. I was very skeptical at the beginning, but they did a really good job of putting a consistent, good product as defined by you out there every day. But they let that slip. There's no autopilot and for success, and they just didn't pay attention. But I think it's a good airline. It's got a good presence in New York, and it's got a good product. And I think this Spirit connection will probably do wonders for them along the East Coast, Miami, and in Latin America.
And I mention all this because most people would assume, why would JetBlue dilute its brand by going for Spirit or Frontier? But again, Spirit and Frontier have actually moved up a little bit in terms of the perception of travelers, believe it or not. While JetBlue is, bottom of the barrel, according to the Wall Street Journal survey, even American has fallen quite a lot. So would a Spirit Frontier tie-up make a lot more sense here?
Well, that's a perception in the marketplace, which you could, have bad. That's not really going to drive the success. What's driving is a critical mass. There's four big boys, and they're not sitting still while this all occurs. I don't know if you noticed, United announced they're going to get 500 airplanes in the next 5 years. So if you want to compete with those guys, you better have some muscle, which means some market presence, and they don't have enough presence in the marketplace to survive. JetBlue doesn't. And they're going to do something about it. And I think, it's a smart move.
So Frontier, in its statement about the JetBlue bid, says, unlike their compelling combination, an acquisition of Spirit by JetBlue, a high-fare carrier, would lead to more expensive travel for consumers. And do you think that's exactly what would happen if JetBlue and Spirit joined up?
I think there will always be a new guy with a low-cost airline, and they come and multiply. There's a couple of them starting now. So it's like waves coming ashore. It's never going to stop. But I do think that New York and Latin America via Miami are good markets. B6, you call them, and JetBlue is B6. But they have that presence that I think needs to be down there going westbound, where if you get Spirit in the middle of the country as well. So you need to have a network strong enough to stand up to United, Delta, and American, and Southwest.
Where do you think the industry is headed? Because it's incredible to talk about how Spirit could be taken over for just $4 billion. I mean, these are minnows, tiny, tiny companies in the stock, but they are so small, and the returns have not only been challenged by the pandemic, they've struggled since. Now there's jet fuel spikes that they have to contend with prices and even some shortages. So this is a very, very difficult time for them to be operating in. And how do you expect the industry to respond? Will we see more consolidation?
Well, I think so, and you're beginning to see that now because there are some new players entering. But consolidation has always been the answer. It did put some rationale when United, American, Southwest, and Delta all had good management and a steady, even kind of non-kill each other environment, and that created some stability. You're only as good as your dumbest competitor. So if somebody comes in with $19 fare, you've got to match it. I mean, so that turmoil is pretty much gone, and it's kind of going to reappear, it looks like.